My fellow Americans, we have arrived at a moment that history will record as the definitive stress test of the American experiment, a moment where the theoretical dangers we have discussed in law schools and constitutional seminars for generations have manifested into a tangible, terrifying reality in the capital of our nation. The headlines you are seeing, stating that the President of the United States faces the prospect of incarceration, that federal judges have taken the unprecedented step of breaking their traditional silence to issue collective warnings, and that the United States Congress has retreated behind closed-door snot for legislative debate, but for emergency classified crisis management. These are not hyperboles generated by a media cycle hungry for clicks. They are the tremors of a constitutional foundation that is cracking under the weight of a lawless executive and a compromised administration. I am speaking to you today because the gravity of this situation demands that we strip away the partisan noise and look squarely at the legal and structural abyss we are staring into, because when the judiciary and the legislature simultaneously move into a war footing against the executive, we are no longer in the realm of normal politics. We are in the realm of regime crisis. Let us begin with the judiciary. For 2 centuries, the unspoken rule of the American legal system has been that judges speak only through their opinions, that they remain aloof from the political fray to preserve their impartiality. But today, that silence has been shattered. Why? Because the threat posed by Donald Trump's refusal to comply with court orders regarding the $365 million judgment and his subsequent defiance of asset seizure protocols has forced the hand of the third branch of government. When judges break silence, it is because they perceive an existential threat to the rule of law itself. They are signaling to the public and to the other branches of government that the president is no longer operating within the boundaries of the legal system, but is actively attempting to dismantle it to save his own skin. The jail threat is not rhetorical. In any other context, a citizen who defies a court order to pay hundreds of millions in fraud damages, who hides assets, and who publicly intimidates officers of the court would be in handcuffs. The only thing standing between Donald Trump and a cell is the office he holds, and the judges are now asking the question that we have all feared: does the presidency grant immunity from the consequences of criminal contempt? And this brings us to the ominous silence coming from Capitol Hill. When we hear that Congress has moved behind closed doors, we must understand what that actually means in the context of Washington. It does not mean they are negotiating a budget. It means they are entering the SCI-FSD, sensitive compartmented information facilities. It means that the Gang of 8 is receiving intelligence that cannot be shared with the public because it is too damaging, too volatile, or too compromising to national security. I can tell you from my time in the Senate and my time as vice president that when Congress goes dark like this, it is because the intelligence community has brought them information that fundamentally changes the calculus of power. What are they discussing in those soundproof rooms? I believe they are discussing the intersection of the president's financial collapse, $365 million debt we discussed, and his susceptibility to foreign coercion. They are likely reviewing intelligence that suggests the president, in his desperation to avoid financial ruin and potential incarceration, has made overtures or received offers that compromise the sovereignty of the United States. But more than that, they are discussing the logistics of a jailed president. They are grappling with the unprecedented nightmare of how the Secret Service protects a commander-in-chief who is being remanded to custody. We are witnessing the collision of 2 unstoppable forces: the mandate of the Department of Justice to enforce the law and the mandate of the Secret Service to protect the body of the president. This is not a procedural hiccup. This is a standoff that could lead to armed confrontation between federal agencies. And we must look at the timing. This is happening while the president's mental state is already under intense scrutiny. The hot mic incident, the 20 minutes on the dot management by Susie Wiles, all of that was the prelude. Now the pressure cooker has exploded. The handlers, the Ice Maiden and her team, are losing control. You cannot manage a federal judge who has issued a bench warrant for contempt You cannot schedule your way out of a seizure order. The bureaucratic wall that Susie Wiles built around the president to hide his decline is crumbling because the legal system does not care about political optics. It cares about compliance. And Donald Trump is constitutionally incapable of compliance. This puts the country in a position of extreme peril. If the president is held in contempt and ordered to be confined, even if it is home confinement within the White House, he becomes a prisoner in his own residence. Think about what that does to the chain of command. Think about the signal it sends to our enemies abroad. If Xi Jinping or Vladimir Putin sees that the American president is effectively under house arrest, battling his own court system, legally paralyzed and financially broken, they will see a window of opportunity. They will see a superpower that is decapitated. This is why Congress is behind closed doors. They are terrified. They are trying to figure out if the 25th Amendment needs to be invoked, not just because of mental unfitness, but because of legal incapacitation. Can a president discharge the powers and duties of his office if he is legally barred from controlling his own assets or leaving his residence due to a flight risk designation? These are questions that the Constitution does not explicitly answer, and we are having to answer them in real time with the nuclear codes in the balance. Furthermore, we must analyze the reaction of the shadow government. We have spoken about the alliance of tech oligarchs and defense contractors like Jared Isaacman. You might expect them to step in, to write the check, to bail him out, but they are silent too. Why? Because a weakened, incarcerated president might actually serve their interests better. If Trump is confined to the White House, fighting for his freedom, he is distracted. He is weak, and a weak president leaves a power vacuum that allows the unelected bureaucrats, the chiefs of staff, and the private contractors to run the government without interference. We may be witnessing a passive coup where the oligarchs are letting the legal system devour the man so they can inherit the machine. They don't need Trump the man. They need the executive authority. And if that authority is delegated to Susie Wiles because the president is busy fighting contempt charges, that is a victory for the managerial state. But for the American people, this is a tragedy. It is the degradation of our highest office into a criminal enterprise. The image of a president facing jail time is not a vindication of justice. It is a scar on the soul of the nation. It normalizes the idea that our leaders are gangsters, and it invites violence. We know that Donald Trump's response to legal pressure is to incite. He will not go quietly. He will call on his supporters to surround the courthouse, to surround the White House, to view the judges as enemies of the people. We are sitting on a powder keg. The judges breaking silence is a plea for the public to understand that the judiciary cannot fight this battle alone. They need the support of a citizenry that believes in the law more than they believe in a personality cult. When we talk about the rule of law, we often speak in abstract terms. But today, it is concrete. It is a piece of paper signed by a judge ordering the immediate payment of damages. It is a bench warrant. It is the sound of a gavel striking a surface. If the president ignores this, if he says, "make me," and if the agencies of the executive branch refuse to enforce the court's will, then we no longer have a republic. We have a dictatorship. It is that simple. The moment the executive branch successfully defies a direct order from the judiciary regarding criminal or civil liability, the separation of powers is dead. And that is what Congress is debating behind those closed doors. Is the republic dead already? Are we just going through the motions, or is there a way to force the president to submit to the law without tearing the country apart? I want you to consider the sheer humiliation of this moment. The United States, the beacon of democracy, the city on a hill, is currently being led by a man who is one step away from a prison jumpsuit. We are the laughingstock of the world, but more importantly, we are a danger to ourselves. The internal focus required to navigate this legal crisis means that we are blind to external threats. While the White House counsel is arguing about bail bonds and asset forfeiture, who is watching the Taiwan Strait? Who is watching the Middle East? The paralysis of the executive branch is a national security emergency. And let us not forget the role of the vice president in all of this. J.D. Vance has been conspicuously quiet. In a functioning administration, the vice president would be the voice of stability. But in this administration, everyone is positioning themselves for the post-Trump era. They smell the blood in the water. The movement behind closed doors in Congress likely involves discussions with the vice president's office about his readiness to step in. We are watching a slow-motion succession crisis disguised as a legal battle. The sharks are circling, and the president is bleeding out financially and legally. The density of this crisis is suffocating. It is not just one thing. It is the mental decline. It is the financial fraud. It is the defiance of the courts. It is the capture by oligarchs. It is the surveillance state run by his handlers. All of these threads are knotting together into a noose around the neck of American democracy. And the jail headline is simply the knot pulling tight. We must also be aware of the deal that might be offered. There is a terrifying possibility that to avoid the spectacle of a jailed president, the political class will orchestrate a corrupt Bargana pardon, a stay of execution, a suspension of the Rulesto Save the Country from Trauma. I warn you against accepting this. The trauma is not in punishing the crime. The trauma is in letting the criminal walk free because he is powerful. If we allow a too big to jail standard for the presidency, we have officially codified a two-tiered justice system. We have admitted that the president is a king, and we fought a revolution to say that he is not. So as you watch the news, as you see the pundits breathless with excitement or fear, remember that this is not a TV show. This is your government collapsing in real time. The judges are speaking because they are the last line of defense. Congress is hiding because they are afraid of what they know. And the president is cornered, dangerous, and desperate. We need to be prepared for what comes next. We need to be prepared for the call to the streets, and we need to resist it with the calm, steady insistence that no one, not even Donald Trump, is above the law. The closed doors of Congress are shutting us out, but we must demand they open. We have a right to know if our president is compromised. We have a right to know if the 25th Amendment is on the table. We have a right to know if the Secret Service is preparing to turn the White House into a federal penitentiary. Transparency is the only disinfectant that can clean this wound. The secrecy is what allows the infection to spread. My friends, the storm is not coming. The storm is here. The roof is tearing off the house. And we are the ones who will have to live in the wreckage if we do not demand accountability now. The judgment has been rendered, the bill is due, and the handcuffs are ready. The only question remaining is whether the United States of America still has the will to snap them shut.